Welcome to today's deep dive. I'm your host, and I'm joined, as always, by our resident expert. And we have a really fascinating topic on the table today.
We really do.
Yeah, it's one of those things where we are looking at a collection of sources that, honestly, you wouldn't normally put in the same folder together.
Yeah, definitely not.
I mean, we've got a stack of recent statistical research reports on tech adoption, some very dense theological white papers, a brand new 2026 encyclical just released by the Vatican,
Right.
and the official agenda for a major multi-denominational summit that is happening literally this very week.
Yeah, it's a lot of ground to cover.
It is a lot. And so our mission today is to kind of pull all of this together to explore something I think is really profound. And that is how artificial intelligence it's no longer just a tool we use for work.
Right.
It is aggressively stepping into the deeply human spaces of emotional support and meaning making and spiritual guidance.
Right.
And we're going to look at how global faith institutions are racing, or I guess in some cases scrambling.
Yeah, scrambling is probably a better word.
Yeah, scrambling to respond to this shift.
It really is a profound shift. I mean, we are watching a fundamental change in where people go to answer the biggest questions in their lives.
Exactly. And I think to really grasp the stakes of what we're talking about, we have to start with a story. And this is drawn right from one of the research papers in our stack.
Oh, yeah. This story really sets the stage.
It does. It's about a 16-year-old girl. And for the sake of the story, we'll just call her Emma.
Okay.
So she lives in rural Ohio. She helps out at her parents' small business. You know, she juggles schoolwork. And like a lot of 16-year-olds today, she deals with a pretty heavy amount of stress and anxiety.
Right. I mean, that's part of being a teenager right now.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
But when she feels completely overwhelmed, she doesn't go to the traditional human network.
Right.
She doesn't go to a parent or a school counselor or youth pastor.
Yeah. She goes to her phone.
She opens an app and
Right.
she turns to an AI therapist. And the reason she does this is the part that it just stopped me in my tracks.
Yeah, me too.
She uses it because, in her own words, it won't judge her.
Yeah. Wow.
Just it won't judge her.
That one phrase, it won't judge her, is
Right.
It's just a perfect distillation of where we find ourselves right now.
Yeah.
Because what we have to understand is that for Emma and for millions of her peers in Generation Z and Gen Alpha, artificial intelligence isn't some novel, shiny tool that they had to learn how to adopt.
Right. It's not new to them.
No. It is the ambient air they breathe.
Wow.
There's no defor for them. They've grown up inside these algorithms.
Yeah.
And the data from our sources, it bears this out in a really staggering way.
Oh, yeah. Tell me the stat again.
So currently, 12% of all youth would consult an AI chatbot about their health or their physical body before they would ever ask a parent or a doctor or a counselor.
12%.
12%, yeah.
That is, okay, let's unpack this because we really need to be clear about what this technology actually is. If you are a teenager navigating the most complex and vulnerable and messy stages of human development, and your first line of defense is a large language model.
Right.
I mean, we're talking about a system that essentially just predicts the next most mathematically likely word in a sentence based on billions of data points.
It's math.
Right, it's math. It is not a conscious being, yet people are treating it like a digital confessional.
Yeah.
It's this infinitely patient, always available sounding board, but it lacks any actual human empathy.
That digital confessional analogy is incredibly apt. I mean, because in a real confessional or in a therapist's office, you are looking for connection.
Right.
You're looking for a shared humanity. And when people bypass the human element for a chatbot, they're seeking the comfort of a confession without the vulnerability of actually being known by another person.
Yes. But here's the crazy part to me. This isn't just a teenager thing.
No, not at all.
The data shows adults are doing this exact same thing right in the middle of their spiritual lives. I mean, the numbers on how practicing Christians are adopting this technology are they're breathtaking. They're actually adopting AI at a faster rate than the general public, aren't they?
They are. And the statistics here are really fascinating. So according to the research, 44% of practicing Christians use AI often or very often in their personal lives.
44%.
Yeah. And if you compare that to the general U.S. adult population, that number is only 31%.
Wow. So 44 to 31.
Right. So you have a demographic that is theoretically anchored in ancient community-based traditions, yet they are outpacing the broader public in adopting the most cutting-edge, individualized technology on the planet.
That is wild.
And it goes all the way up to the leadership, too. 87% of U.S. pastors are using AI in some capacity.
87%.
For sermon prep, brainstorming, theological research, you name it.
Almost 9 out of 10. But I want to pause on what I think is the most mind-blowing stat in this entire stack of research.
Oh, I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah. 34% of practicing Christians say that AI's spiritual guidance can be as trustworthy as a pastor's.
Yeah. Over a third.
Over a third. I mean, how...
That represents a massive shift in spiritual authority.
It really does.
But what we really need to look at is the psychological tension that is accompanying this shift. Because trust and fear are rising simultaneously.
Okay, how so?
Well, while you have this high adoption rate, you also have 72% of these same people worrying that AI will eventually replace pastors entirely.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and 83% worry it will misinterpret scripture or lead people astray.
So wait, 83% are worried it's going to lead people astray, but 34% think it's as trustworthy as a pastor.
Right. It's a huge paradox.
Yeah.
They are terrified of what the technology might do to their faith,
Yeah.
but they're using it anyway.
See, that's where I get stuck, because I've heard people compare this to eating junk food. You know, like you know it's bad for you, but you eat it anyway because it's convenient. But I don't think that analogy quite captures it, because we are talking about the fundamental questions of human existence here. It's not a cheeseburger.
No, exactly.
It feels more like it's like talking to a mirror that has been explicitly programmed to nod at you.
Feels good, yeah.
You feel validated because the AI is perfectly reflecting your own language back to you, but there's no actual person on the other side bearing the weight of your confession.
That is a much better way to look at it. It is the illusion of intimacy.
Right.
And that illusion, it becomes highly problematic when we look at how these AI systems actually handle existential questions.
What do you mean?
Well, our sources note that 53% of Americans expect a religious or ethical perspective to be available when they ask an AI an existential question.
Like a question about grief or something.
Exactly. Questions about grief, purpose, morality. But the researchers tested 14 different major AI systems, and those perspectives were only included 3% of the time.
3%.
3% of the time.
So wait, 97% of the time, the AI just pretends the spiritual dimension of humanity doesn't exist?
Pretty much.
How does that even happen? Like, is there a deliberate anti-religious bias programmed into these things?
Well, it's not necessarily a malicious bias. It's actually a byproduct of a technical process called alignment.
Okay.
Specifically, something known as reinforcement learning from human feedback, or RLHF.
Okay, wait. Break that down for me in plain English. What is RLHF?
Okay, so basically when tech companies train these massive AI models, they want them to be safe and acceptable to a massive global user base.
Sure, that makes sense.
They don't want the AI saying offensive or highly controversial things. So human testers interact with the AI and essentially downvote answers that are controversial and upvote answers that are neutral and safe.
Oh, I see.
So to a global algorithm, religion is highly subjective, it's inherently controversial, and it's historically very messy.
Right, people fight about it all the time.
Exactly. So the mathematical path of least resistance for the system, the easiest way for it to remain safe, is to simply omit faith from the equation altogether. It defaults to a very sanitized secular therapeutic language.
But wait, if we are turning to AI for advice on our deepest struggles, and the AI is filtering out the spiritual dimension of the human experience because it's too messy, aren't we subtly allowing algorithms to rewrite what it means to be human?
That is exactly the danger.
I mean, if the primary tool we use to process our reality refuses to acknowledge the spiritual, eventually won't our reality just become less spiritual?
Yeah, omission is a form of formation.
Omission is formation. Wow.
Right. If the system you interact with daily treats you purely as a biological machine or a consumer of data rather than a spiritual being with a soul, it slowly shifts your own self-perception.
So if the stakes are fundamentally about defining what it means to be human, I guess it makes sense that the world's oldest institutions are finally stepping into the fray to draw a line in the sand.
Right, they have to.
Which brings us to the Vatican's newly released document.
Yes. So in May of this year, 2026, Pope Leo XIV released his very first encyclical.
And just for context, an encyclical is...
Yeah, an encyclical is a major circulating letter from the Pope that addresses significant issues, and they are traditionally addressed to all people of goodwill, not just Catholics.
Right. Okay, so what's this one called?
This one is entitled Magnifica Humanitas, which translates to Magnificent Humanity, on safeguarding the human person in the time of artificial intelligence.
It's a really fascinating read.
It is a profound document. The Pope appeals for the safeguarding of humanity, the promotion of truth, the dignity of work, social justice, and peace.
Yeah.
And to make his point, he uses a very specific biblical framework, contrasting two ancient building projects.
The Tower of Babel, and what was the other one?
The rebuilding of the walls of Jerusalem under Nehemiah.
Right, right. The Babel comparison really jumped out at me. How exactly does he connect an ancient tower to something like ChatGPT?
So the Pope warns against what he calls the Babel syndrome.
The Babel syndrome.
Yeah. In the text, the Tower of Babel was a project of ultimate self-assertion. It was an attempt to reach heaven through pure technological and organizational efficiency entirely independent of God.
Okay.
It required absolute uniformity. It sacrificed human individuality for the sake of the project's efficiency.
Right, they all had to be exactly the same to build it.
Exactly. So the Pope uses this story to describe the modern technocratic impulse. The temptation to view human beings not as mysteries to be loved, but as projects to be optimized.
Projects to be optimized. Okay, I have to push back here for a second.
Go ahead.
Because that word optimize is everywhere right now. And usually it's a good thing.
Right.
Like, optimize your morning routine, optimize your workflow. If a pastor can optimize their email inbox using AI so that they have 3 extra hours a week to go visit sick people in the hospital, isn't that a net positive?
Oh, absolutely.
So where does the Pope draw the line between using a helpful tool and falling into this Babel syndrome?
That is the crucial distinction, and the encyclical addresses it beautifully. The Pope is not against efficiency in our tasks.
Okay.
He is against applying the logic of efficiency to the human soul.
Ah.
The document argues that human limitations, things like illness, aging, vulnerability, suffering, and grief, these are not defects or bugs in our hardware that need to be fixed or bypassed by technology.
So we shouldn't try to hack our way out of feeling bad.
Right. The Pope writes that true human magnificence actually flourishes through our limitations.
Through our limitations.
Yes, because it's only when we are vulnerable, when we hit our limits and we need help, that we actually experience closeness and wisdom and genuine communion with other people.
Oh, I see. So it's about not treating human struggles as math equations to be solved instantly.
Exactly. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the fundamental difference between human intelligence and artificial intelligence is embodiment.
Having a physical body.
Right. An AI does not have a body. It
Okay.
does not get sick. It does not age. It does not fear death. And it does not possess a conscience.
Yeah, it's just code.
It can process vast amounts of data, and it can absolutely simulate empathy by predicting comforting words, but it cannot experience empathy.
Right.
It has no skin in the game, literally.
Literally no skin.
By defining human vulnerability as a feature rather than a bug, the Pope is trying to protect the very things that make us human from being discarded in our pursuit of mechanical perfection.
I want to make something really clear for our listeners who might not be churchgoers or who might think religious institutions just inherently hate new technology.
Right.
The Pope is not doom scrolling here.
No, not at all.
He's not telling people to smash their servers and throw their smartphones into the sea. He actually acknowledges that AI is a valuable tool that can heal and educate and connect us.
Yes.
What he's doing is laying down a philosophical marker. He's saying that efficiency should never be the ultimate measure of human value.
Precisely. It is an argument for human agency and human dignity.
But a philosophical marker from 30,000 feet in Rome is one thing. How do you actually apply that on a Tuesday afternoon when the youth group in your local church is already asking a chatbot if God exists?
Yeah, that's the real challenge.
Because that tension between high-level philosophy and ground-level reality is exactly what triggered a massive emergency summit happening right now.
Yes. The Protestant world is actively trying to build practical, ethical frameworks for AI on the ground. And it is happening with an incredible sense of urgency.
Yeah, we're talking about the AI and Church Summit 2026, which is happening in person in Nashville, Tennessee, and online, literally this week, August 24th through the 27th.
That's right.
And this isn't a fringe group. This is a multi-denominational ecumenical gathering bringing together leaders from the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, the Presbyterian Church USA, the Episcopal Church, and the United Methodist Church.
It's a huge coalition.
It is. I mean, to give you some context, about 11% of all U.S. adults identify as mainline Protestants. So you're talking about institutions that represent millions of people gathering to figure this out in real time.
Yeah. And the theme of the summit is highly relevant to what we were just discussing.
Oh, what is that?
It's called the Agency of the People of God in the Age of AI.
There's that word again. Agency.
Notice that word. They are examining how to make deliberate choices about technology, theology, and ministry practice that keep human flourishing at the center.
Right.
And they've brought in a really wide array of perspectives to do this. You have Chloe Lubinsky from the major AI company Anthropic, Mackenzie Roberts, Dr. Brian Patrick Green, and Bishop Marion Edgar Budd.
So they've got the tech people and the theologians in the same room.
Exactly. They aren't just debating philosophy in an ivory tower. They're tackling the messy reality of integrating this tech into local congregations.
Right. They are focusing on practical ministry tools and digital discipleship. In fact, our sources mention one specific tool being discussed at the summit called Faith GPT.
Yeah, Faith GPT is really interesting.
It's an AI built specifically for pastors that includes something called a doctrine guard, which acts as a theological safety filter.
Because as we know, general AI models can hallucinate.
Oh, yeah, they make stuff up all the time.
Right. They can produce bizarre or completely heterodox statements when asked theological questions because they are just pulling from the entire messy internet.
Okay, but how does an AI even know what good theology is?
Well, it doesn't on its own.
So how does a doctrine guard actually work under the hood without just randomly guessing?
It uses a technology called a vector database, often applied through a process called retrieval augmented generation, or RAG.
A rag. Okay, break that down for me.
Okay, so instead of letting the AI loose to search the entire internet and just invent an answer.
Which is what ChatGPT normally does.
Right. Instead of that, developers take a specific set of approved theological texts, say a specific denomination's catechism, historical documents, biblical commentaries,
Okay.
and they load them into a secure, closed database.
Ah,
So when a pastor asks Faith GPT a question, the system is essentially locked into that specific database. It retrieves information only from those approved texts to generate its answer.
oh, wow. So it creates like a walled garden to ensure the AI's output remains aligned with that specific church's teachings.
Yes, it can't go rogue because it doesn't have access to the rogue information.
That is fascinating. So they're basically putting guardrails on the algorithm to keep it grounded in their tradition.
Yes, and this really highlights a desperate sprint to catch up.
Why do you say that?
Because the statistics from the summit reveal that currently only 5 to 6% of churches have a formal AI policy.
5 to 6%.
5 to 6%. Yet, as we discussed earlier, nearly 90% of pastors are already using it.
87%. Yeah, so the usage is everywhere, but the rules are nowhere.
Exactly. The technology bypassed the institutions and went straight to the users. So this summit in Nashville is a frantic attempt to write the manual while the plane is already in the air. They recognize that prohibition won't work. You cannot just ban AI.
Yeah, people will just use it on their phones under the desk anyway.
Exactly. You have to teach people how to use it while maintaining spiritual discernment.
You know, here's where it gets really interesting to me. Looking at the agenda for this summit, there is this incredible, almost poetic paradox at the heart of all this.
What's that?
The church is trying to figure out how to aggressively use AI to save time. You know, they want it to handle the administrative tasks, draft the newsletters, organize the volunteer schedules.
Right. All the busy work.
But why? Specifically so that the humans, the ministers, and the leaders can get away from their screens and get back to the intensely human, face-to-face, inefficient work of being present with people.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Right. They are using the very technology that threatens to replace human interaction in order to protect and prioritize human interaction.
It is a profound paradox.
Yeah.
And I think it encapsulates the tension of our era perfectly. The goal of these frameworks, whether it's the Vatican's encyclical or the Protestant summit in Nashville, is to push AI into the backstage of life.
The backstage.
Yeah, so that the front stage becomes more distinctly human.
I love that visual. Backstage versus front stage.
But the danger, of course, is mission creep.
Right.
It's one thing to use an AI to draft an email about a church potluck. That's backstage.
Sure.
It is an entirely different moral universe if a pastor uses AI to write a confidential pastoral care response to a congregant grieving a miscarriage.
Right. Oh, man.
Or if a teenager uses it to process their deepest anxieties.
Exactly. Because when that line gets crossed, when the AI moves from the backstage to the front stage, we're right back to Emma in Ohio.
We are right back where we started.
So what does this all mean? Let's take a step back and look at the through line of everything we've unpacked today. We are moving incredibly fast from a world where teenagers are outsourcing their anxiety to chatbots because it feels frictionless and non-judgmental, to a world where global faith leaders representing hundreds of millions of people are slamming on the brakes. They're demanding that we protect the messy, inefficient reality of being human.
And this raises an important question, perhaps the most critical question we face in the AI age.
What's that?
The ultimate boundary we have to draw isn't actually technological, it's relational.
Relational.
Yes, technology will continue to advance. It'll become more fluent, it'll become more persuasive, and infinitely more capable of simulating empathy.
Absolutely.
But the boundary we must defend is the space where authentic human connection occurs.
Yeah.
The space where someone actually bears the physical and emotional weight of another person's suffering. Where someone physically shows up, where someone with a conscience exercises moral judgment.
Right, because the AI doesn't have a conscience.
No algorithm, no matter how advanced its vector database is, can substitute for presence.
And that brings me back to Emma sitting alone in her room in rural Ohio, typing her fears into a glowing screen. I want to leave you, our listener, with this thought to mull over. If a person types their deepest, darkest fear, their most profound grief into an AI, and that AI instantly generates a perfectly empathetic, flawlessly comforting, beautifully written response, did a connection actually happen? Or, in our relentless pursuit of fictionless comfort and absolute efficiency, are we quietly outsourcing the hardest and most beautiful parts of being human to servers that don't even know what it means to feel?